Easy. Well, I've just seen a Question Time, which was a Brexit special. It was unscheduled, so unfortunately I missed the first 10 minutes of it, but I'm just going to air my thoughts on what I've seen. On the panel that we had, the Brexit Party chairman Richard Tice and the LBC radio presenter Ian Dale and the Cabinet Minister Kwasi Kwarteng, and all three of those are Brexiteers. Now, Kwasi Kwarteng did vote for Theresa May's Brexit in name only colony status surrender treaty, but he's still a Brexiteer and he still wants to see it done. On the other side of the spectrum, we had Layla Moran for the Lib Dems, so enough said, and Ian Blackford from the SNP. And you know, that man is a right cocky little shit. His constant interruptions of Ian Dale were an absolute disgrace. But the most important person I want to dedicate this video to is Emily Thornberry from the Labour Party. And I was left absolutely seething because it was clear to see that the disdain and the contempt that this woman and a lot of the Labour Party front bench as well holds for the working class people of this country, most of which are their voters and most of which are Brexiteers. And it was quite funny to watch Emily Thornberry say, and I specifically quote this, that she wants to go to be the one to go and negotiate a better deal from Brussels. Now, why Brussels would negotiate differently for the Labour Party is easy for people like me to see, obviously not for her. But she claims that she's going to remain, whatever. So basically what it breaks down into is that Labour Party is going to go and renegotiate this much better deal, come back with this much better deal, and campaign to remain. In other words, campaign against their own deal. And you could see, coming just from this woman's attitude, and this disdain was pouring out of every pore of her fat, ugly, bloated body. Now, I'm sorry to use personal insults, it's not my way. I like to think I'm better than that, but do you know, it's like sometimes you just get so mad. And the game plan of Labour started to become a little bit clearer to me as to what it is that they're trying to do, because they don't want a general election. They want power, but they don't want a general election. And of course, the only way to get power is to hold a general election and hopefully, not guarantee, but hopefully win that election. But they want to take charge without an election. That's what they want. And you could see that what she was trying to do, or what the Labour Party are trying to do, is they are trying to make it so that Boris Johnson is forced to go back to Brussels on his hands and knees, begging for an extension, which is, of course, the one thing that he said he would never do. And then, of course, that they can sit back then and say, oh, ha, 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 ha. He went back and he begged for an extension and he said he'd never do that. He broke his promise. If he broke the one promise he said he'd never break, we can't trust him to keep any promises. And that's what they're trying to do. And you know, it's like all the time when they're playing these political games, you can clearly see that they don't give a flying fuck about the country. The people of this country are suffering while they play their political games. And at least Boris Johnson wants to get this done. And it's quite worrying to see the Labour Party, because surely they must know that their voting base is by majority Brexit backing. Boris Johnson was in Wakefield launching a campaign. And he's even come under stick from that, for Christ's sake. But he was launching a campaign, and then the BBC asked people on the street, and let's not forget that Wakefield is a Labour heartland. its current MP is one of these Remoaners who can't accept the result of the referendum. And they were explicitly saying that they would vote for Boris Johnson. They would vote Conservative. And you could see that they were saying that through gritted teeth because they've probably never voted Conservative in their lives. And they've been forced into it because they cannot trust their own MP and Labour. And it absolutely angered me to watch it, just to see that disdain coming from them. But now you've seen their game plan. Labour's game plan laid bare. We are being held to ransom. This country is being held to ransom by their antics. We can't move forward, we can't move back. And all because of their political games and desire to put party before country. And we are caught in the middle. We are suffering. The people in that audience were, well, some of them were, they were angry. And I tell you what, if they bring Question Time into the north of England, they're going to really start to feel that anger. Because Richard Tice said that he'd been around these areas and he'd spent a lot of time speaking to people, and he said that the anger is plain to see on the people. And we've been held to ransom. We can't move on. There are domestic issues that are so important and desperate to get tackled, and we can't. Because these people, with their political games, are holding us to ransom, and we are suffering. Thank you for watching. Until next time, easy.